One of my favorite real-life design inferences involves the Bernie Madoff scandal. One of my favorite real-life design inferences involves the Bernie Madoff scandal. So Bernie Madoff was on Wall Street and he was running this Ponzi scheme, and he was defrauding people in the end it was $65 billion that he had supposedly under management that he had bilked people out of. And there was a quant on Wall Street or off Wall Street, I think he was in Boston, named Harry Markopolos. And he saw instantly that this was a Ponzi scheme. And what he looked at basically was, he said, what made Madoff so tricky and why people gravitated to him is people are very loss averse. They don't want to lose stuff. And what he did was, he didn't have the best performance in terms of overall returns in the business, but it was rock solid. He virtually never had a downturn. And so he would go, I think there was one instance where I think in 89 months, he had maybe 3 downturns or something like this. And Markopolos looked at that and said, now, if you look at even the best performance, on S&P indexes, it was like over an 89-month period, you might see a third going down. And, so that would be probably about 30 or 29, and he only had 3. And so basically then you just do a simple math calculation, you're doing a binomial, and so the improbability of being able to stay that rock solid was in the tens of billions, 1 in 10, I think it was 1 in 50 billion or so. And then when you did the analysis for still more months, it was even smaller than that. But what was the pattern there? What was this stability? It was that just having 3 or fewer in 89 losses. And the improbability of that was just huge. So he spotted in 4 minutes that this was a Ponzi scheme, just doing a mental calculation. So that's an example of these design inferences in action, where you do a mental calculation, you say, wait a second, this is way too improbable. This is the pattern that's being matched, and that's and then it comes together. I'll go out on a limb here, and you may want to edit this, but there could be telltale signs in the COVID virus that it was humanly manufactured. So there are things that humans do that nature won't do. We know this. I mean, Craig Venter has his synthetic genomics, where he would input into the DNA of various organisms things about, I think his own names of his collaborators, things that would not happen naturally, right? Would not happen by chance. So there could be things that are telltale signs of design there. But in so many instances, search for extraterrestrial intelligence. If we get a signal from outer space, the movie Contact, for instance, was a long sequence of prime numbers coming from outer space. That would have convinced radio astronomers that they were dealing with an intelligence. Highly improbable that you're going to get a long sequence of numbers that match up with the primes. The match with the primes, prime numbers are numbers divisible only by themselves in 1. So that's the pattern, and it's going to be highly improbable if you have a long sequence. Now, if you only have a short sequence, if you recall the movie Contact, a sequence of prime numbers came in a series of beats and pauses, so it would have been 1 1 0 1 1 1 0 1 1 1 1 1 0, and so on. But if you just had 1 1 0, that's 3 bits of information. That's a probability of 1 in 8. You're not going to contact the New York Times science editor and say, we found signs of extraterrestrial intelligence. They've given us a random event of probability 1 in 8. But if it's 1 in 10 to the 30, 1 in a trillion, then things start getting dicey, and then you'd have reason to suspect that you're dealing with an alien intelligence. Nothing like that's ever been discovered, of course. I mean, SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, is still a search. It's not, it hasn't found the signs of intelligence.